We are not asking for aid. We are applicants. We have learned to carry our poverty with dignity. We are offering you a high quality, cost-efficient and scalable extension of your own workforce, as well as investment to continually develop such workforce. And I can imagine the question in every CEO's mind here: can we trust the infrastructure? Can we trust the data? As a government, we understand that trust is the new currency.
But here's what keeps me up at night. Ghana's success alone is not enough. However admirable Ghana's turnaround story is, we cannot be a jewel in the dirt. We must work together as Africa. We must knit together the patchwork of success stories. And that is why we're here in Davos today. To take what's working across many countries in Africa and the global south and scale it up across other countries. To move from resetting one country to resetting the entire development model for the global south. And let me be direct about what we're up against. Too many of our countries are caught in what I call the triple dependency. We depend on others for our security choices. We depend on donors for our health and educational systems. We supply the world's critical minerals but capture almost none of its value. This isn't sovereignty, it's a trap. And it's getting worse. In my quiet moments, as I try to find solutions, here's what I've learned. Crisis creates clarity. The clarity is this, that we must build our own capacity to act. There's precedent for what I'm proposing. 20 years ago, UN Secretary General Kofi Annan and several courageous world leaders, including President Obasanjo here, made a simple, powerful case. HIV/AIDS was ravaging millions in Africa and a global response was required. This courage created the architecture of the Global Fund, which saved millions of lives in Africa and across the world. That fight succeeded because leaders decided to act together with urgency and without excuse. Today, I'm not so sure. The US is gutting funding to the United Nations system and other global organizations that have saved millions of lives. And we face an unpredictable world. And this is why Africa must be responsible for its destiny. Today, we face a different pandemic, the pandemic of unfulfilled potential. Millions of young people have no jobs, health systems that collapse at the first crisis, economies that extract our resources but build nothing long-lasting. If we could mobilize the world to fight a disease, why can't we mobilize to fight poverty, to fight dependency, to fight the systems that keep brilliant young Africans locked out of the future? In Ghana, we're proving something important, that execution beats excuses. We're cutting government spending and have reduced the size of government to a record low of 58 ministers, including deputy ministers and regional ministers. We're digitizing services to end corruption. We're training young people for the jobs of tomorrow. We have renegotiated our debt so we can invest in our people and not just service loans. This is a resetting Ghana agenda, and it's working because we stopped talking about the transformation and we started building that transformation. Now imagine this same approach across Africa and the entire global south. The multilateral order and rules-based system may be under threat, but we can forge a new coalition of the willing based on a shared vision and mutual respect for each other. What if we pooled our negotiating power on critical minerals so we capture value and not just extract raw ore? What if we exercise more sovereignty over our natural resources to create prosperity for our own people? What if we build regional manufacturing hubs that create millions of jobs for our young people? What if we produce our own vaccines and our own medicines with our own technology? This is the Accra Reset vision. It's not a talk shop. It's not a declaration. It's a practical blueprint for how countries can work together to build real sovereignty, the kind that you can measure in jobs created, in children at school, children vaccinated, and young people thriving. My fellow leaders, let me speak plainly. In this fast-changing world, we're entering an era where countries must compete, innovate, and build or be left behind. Our young people are watching, they're brilliant, they're hungry, and they're running out of patience. So here's what we must focus on. First, we must invest in skills, not just education, but skills that match real jobs in the real economy. Digital skills, green energy skills, manufacturing skills. We need a generation of young Africans who can build and not just consume. Second, we must build together. No African country can industrialize alone by itself. We must create regional prosperity platforms, manufacturing zones, energy grids, and digital infrastructure that gives our businesses scale and our workers opportunity. Third, we must negotiate as one. When we bargain separately, we're weak. When we negotiate together on minerals, trade, and climate finance, we can be formidable. Unity should not be just a slogan, it must be our strategy. Fourth, we must produce at home, from vaccines to semiconductors to solar panels. If we don't make it, we'll always be dependent on someone who does. Industrial policy isn't old-fashioned, it is what will make us survive. And fifth, and most importantly, we must hold ourselves accountable to our people. We cannot ask the world to invest in us if we tolerate corruption, waste, and systems that don't work. Reset means reform, and reform means results. And so the Davos commitment. Friends, we didn't come here to ask for charity. We came to propose a global partnership of the willing, based on a shared vision and mutual respect for each other. The Accra Reset is building the architecture for a new kind of cooperation, one where global South countries don't just receive programs, but co-design them with our partners in the global North, where we don't just attract investment, but shape it around what are our priorities. We want to create prosperity fears across regional platforms where countries coordinate on investments, infrastructure, and jobs. President Obasanjo often reminds me that leadership is about legacy. And he asks me, what will you leave behind? My answer is simple. We want to leave a continent where young people don't risk their lives crossing the Mediterranean because they will have opportunities at home. We want to leave systems that work, industries that thrive, and nations that stand tall. And in this, Ghana cannot do it alone. Africa can't do it alone. There's a call to every leader in this room. If you believe in a world where prosperity is shared, not just based on narrow interests, then join us. If you believe the global South deserves partnership and not pity, join us. If you believe the next chapter of human progress is going to be written in Accra, Nairobi, Kigali, Abuja, and Cairo, then join us. The Accra Reset is not seeking permission, we're building momentum. From New York last September to this room in Davos and to the African Union in Addis Ababa next month, and soon at the Oslo Dialogues, we shall continue to build these partnerships. And so the question is not whether the world needs this, the question is whether we have the courage to build it. I thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and of course, the elder statesman under whose tutelage we were radicalized when growing up in the 70s and the 80s, have now been turned into a conservative capitalist, an elder statesman, a global statesman. We meet again under the banner of dialogue. Yet candor requires this. The dialogue of the last century, organized around aid, charity, and managed dependency, has reached its analytical limits. What confronts us now is not a discrete development problem, but a shared condition of systemic stress, demographic aging in parts of the North, debt and inflation pressures across the South, climate volatility, and a global order whose institutions are struggling to match today's risk with credible collective action. To our brothers from the global north, I am here to tell you the solution to your labor crisis, and it is the solution to our developmental crisis. For decades, the narrative of African youth was one of risk, a youth bulge to be managed. Today, I present it as your greatest strategic reserve. With a median age of 18, Nigeria is not just a nation. We are the workforce of the world, projected to be the third most populous nation on earth by 2050. And by the end of the century, when all of us here have become poor tenants in the home of the earthworms, Nigeria will be the most populous nation on earth. The Accra Reset, Your Excellency, you are very much welcome, which was launched at the UN General Assembly last year, demands a shift from poverty reduction to wealth creation for Nigeria and for Africa. This means redefining migration. We have heard the concerns of the global north about immigration pressure, and we have also heard our citizens' desire for global opportunity. The answer is not physical migration, which drains our nations of talents and strains your social fabrics. The answer is digital service export. India last year generated over $100 billion from global outsourcing alone. Nigeria, the oil giant of Africa, the highest we have ever earned from the process of oil was $35 billion in 2011 under former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And according to Comperi, a global finance outfit, there will be 65 million global talent deficits by 2035. The United States, Russia, and Brazil will each suffer from 6 million talent deficits. And as I said earlier, the median age of Nigeria and even of Ghana is not more than 18. And there are more English speakers in Nigeria than in India. And our proximity to Europe is an added advantage. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this digital service export provides a vista of opportunity, a win-win situation for all of us. And this is not aspirational, it is operational. We are building a sovereign prosperity sphere, while a software engineer in Yaba, Lagos, creates value for a firm in Berlin or Silicon Valley without ever leaving Yaba. We have the National Talent Export Program, NATEP. We have created a structured pipeline to train and certify Nigerian talent for the global market. Our 3 million technical talent initiative is currently training the largest cohort of developers, data scientists, and AI specialists in African history. And the Etana Digital Pre-Zone in Lagos provides a physical and virtual campus for this remote workforce to operate seamlessly. We are not asking for aid. We are Africans. We have learned to carry our poverty with dignity. We are offering you a high quality, cost-efficient, and scalable extension of your own workforce, as well as investment to continually develop such workforce. And I can imagine the question in every CEO's mind here: can we trust the infrastructure? Can we trust the data? As a government, we understand that trust is a new currency. That is why the Tinubu administration did not invest just in skills. We invest in digital security and standards. We have domesticated the highest standards of data privacy through our Data Protection Act, aligned with the AFCFTA protocol on digital trade, ensuring that your IP is protected by treaty, not just by policy. On cyber resilience, we have treated cybersecurity not as an IT issue, but as a national security imperative, establishing a robust framework that secures the digital handshake between our nations. And when it comes to regulatory harmony, when you hire a Nigerian team, you are not hiring in a Wild West. You are hiring from a WHO maturity level equivalent regulatory environment for digital services. The sovereign prosperity sphere is a negotiated partnership. Therefore, I come to Davos with two specific propositions for leaders of the Fortune 500 companies that are seated here. And I call on you to form a joint architecture, join our NATEP Corporate Council, partner with us to define the curriculum, tell us exactly what skills you need, cybersecurity, AI ethics, development operations, and we'll build the training pipeline to match your specifications. And secondly, make the commitment. Impact investing is good, but impact sourcing is better. I challenge the global 500 companies represented here to commit to sourcing 10% of their remote technical workforce from the Accra research nations by 2030. This is a win-win we promise for decades, but fail to deliver. You get the talent you desperately need to innovate. We get the dignified jobs we need to stabilize. Together, we turn the digital divide into a digital bridge. The bridge is built. It is secure. It is open for business. It is time to cross it. The President of Ghana will give you the handshake to cross that bridge. The elder statesman here is here to support us. Thank you so much, and God bless us.
Thank you, Africa, Mama Africa. Oh, yeah. You make Africa great. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, Africa.